Hey folks, Wally DM here, and today we have an amazing puzzle collaboration with Domille's Wonderous works. Now for those of you not familiar, Domille is a professional map designer, and in particular she specializes in phase battle maps. Now a phase battle map is one that consists of 3 to 5 different maps that are put together in layers in a virtual tabletop game, and as an encounter or a battle progresses, the game master can move the maps or the layers around so that the environment seemingly changes around the characters. Now in today's video, we're going to take a look at the Encrypted Sand Crypt puzzle, and Domille has put together a phased battle map for the entire encounter, and this is going to consist of 5 different layers. Our very first map is when the characters are going to arrive and before the trap is triggered. The game master would activate the second layer when the characters trigger the trap and the room begins to fill with sand. In the third layer, the sand is getting a little bit deep and things are in full motion. In the fourth layer of this phase battle map, the characters better hurry up and solve the puzzle or they're going to be buried in sand. And in the fifth and final layer, just about everything is covered in sand, and how in the heck are the characters going to dig themselves out of this one? So I hope you're able to use today's puzzle idea as a foundation to build your own counter, or use it as written. And Domille has offered all 5 phases of this battle map with the Encrypted Sand Crypt free to everyone watching, so I'm going to put a link to her Patreon in the description below. And in addition to that, to help you along the way, I'll also provide a written version of this puzzle along with the handouts that you can give to your players. Now I'm super excited to share these maps and this idea with you, so let's get started. In this puzzle, our adventuring party is going to enter this chamber or this crypt that's going to be designed to trigger a trap that's going to fill the entire room with sand and possibly bury them alive. When the characters enter the room, we're going to read them the following. This chamber features stone block walls, a sand floor, and an artistic mural depicting ancient civilizations and hieroglyphs. 4 elegantly crafted columns occupy each corner, each capped with a carving of a snake's head. Opposite you, the far wall boasts a sizable stone door prominently marked with the letter W. In the center of this room, atop a raised podium, sits a wooden treasure chest with iron reinforcements. So the way that the characters came in is currently open, so they can leave at this time if they would like to, but of course I imagine they're going to want to explore the room. Now, as already stated, we have a sand floor and we have columns with snake heads on top of them. Now the ceilings are about 15 feet high, and any character that wants to get a little bit more information about the columns with the snakeheads can make a DC 16 Wisdom Perception check, and on a success, they notice that the open mouths of the snake carvings seem to be a void, possibly leading to an infinite space. But if the characters fail that perception check, just let them know that the inside of the snake's mouths look to be hollowed out, but the area is too hard to see from where they're currently standing. Now if a character were able to levitate upwards or spider climb so they could get a closer look at the snake heads, I would allow them 2 things. The first thing is they would make that perception check with advantage, and the second thing is they would be able to see a lot of sand in the bottom of the mouth of each snake head, and maybe even a couple poisonous snakes. Now if the characters decide to search the room, they are going to find 2 skeletons that are mostly buried in the sand floor. And in the hand of one of these skeletons is going to be a note or a piece of parchment. There is the word bet, B-E-T, written across the top, and the numbers 2, 5, and 20 positioned underneath those letters. Now our next item of interest, let's say our characters come up to this big W door, they're going to see 2 things. First off, they're going to see this big large W, and they would recognize this as either part of the common alphabet or whatever alphabet it is that you choose to use when running this puzzle. The second thing that they would notice is above the W is this arcane number, and it looks like the number 0, and it flashes and glows with some magical energy. Now to the right of this door is going to be some more of these glowing magical runes, and there's going to be 9 of them. So taking a look at those, they're actually going to be written on separate stone blocks, and the numbers are going to be 1 through 9. Now our character that's investigating this stone wall, in particular the blocks with the arcane runes or the magical numbers on them, are going to be able to determine that these could be pressed in. And if our character were to press one of the stone blocks in, let's say the number 5, then that 0 that is glowing above the W on the door is going to change to a 5. Now, if another stone block is pushed in, let's say the number 9, then that 5 that is above the W is now going to change to 14. And the character is able to determine that 5 plus 9 is 14, so the numbers were added up. Let's say our character pushes another stone block in, this time the number 4, then this number is going to change to an 18, and let's say one more block, the character pushes in the number 3, then the number in the center of the door is going to change to a 21, and then all of the numbers, or all of the arcane runes, are going to flash a couple of times, and all of the stone blocks are going to reset. They're going to pop back out. So our character would be able to determine that that is the incorrect code to open the door. However, if they were able to get the correct number of stone blocks, or at least the numbers on the stone blocks pushed in, then this door should open. But more on that in just a bit. So now after our druid has attempted to push the blocks in, this number here has reset to 0, so the characters can try it again. But let's take a look at the last feature of the room. And the last feature of the room is this treasure chest that is sitting atop an elevated pedestal. Now this treasure chest is not mechanically trapped and it is unlocked. However, if this treasure chest is opened, then the doors that the characters entered through are going to slam shut and lock. Now before we dive into the initiative count, whoever did open the treasure chest is going to be able to find some valuable treasure, and I'll leave that to you as the game master to be able to determine. But for me, maybe it was something like a diamond that's worth 5,000 gold, plus a bunch of historical artifacts and trinkets. But in addition to all of that, they are going to find one more piece of parchment or paper that is very similar to the one they found in the hand of the skeleton. However, this one here spells the word alpha, and it has the numbers 1, 12, 16, 8, and 1 underneath the letters. However, there is a magical trap in this room so that when the treasure chest is open, this room is going to start to fill with sand. Each of these columns that are topped with snake heads are going to start pouring sand out of their mouths, and the sand level in this chamber is going to rise. We are going to roll for initiative. Now on initiative count 20, in addition to the sand that is pouring out of the mouths of each of these sand-capped columns, there's also going to be 1d8 of poisonous snakes. Now I'm using poisonous snakes to match the columns. Now you don't have to have snakes or any type of monster encounter to be able to run this puzzle or trap, but I think it adds a little bit of urgency. So our characters now have everything they need to solve the puzzle. However, there could be a combat element, so the characters are going to need to fight off some monsters, but in the meantime, this entire area is filling up with sand. And in fact, on initiative count 10, the sand level in this room is going to raise by 1 foot. Now once the sand in this room reaches 2 feet, this is going to be difficult terrain, and once the sand in the room reaches 3 feet, then the characters are going to need to use half of their movement to climb out and get on top of the sand. Meanwhile, we have our arcane runes that are magically lit with our stone blocks and the numbers that should be able to offer the characters a way to get out of here. With everything that's been presented, do you know how to solve the puzzle? I'll give you a second to figure it out. Did you get it? Great! Let's go over the answer. So if you're running this puzzle on the virtual tabletop, such as Roll20 or Foundry or what have you, once we hit initiative count 10 in that first round, we're going to take layer 1 or phase 1 of our map, and we're going to move it backwards, and we're going to move to phase 2. And I love how the detail in the artwork of this map, you can actually see the sand that is just pouring out of the mouths of the snake-topped pillars. Now we're going to continue round by round in an initiative count with our combat and with the characters trying to get out of here. They have the 2 clues, the bet and the alpha, and they can use those clues to be able to open the door. Now before we get to the answer, let's just discuss running this in an initiative count. After the first round is complete at initiative count 20, again, another D8 of snakes are going to come out of these columns, and they're going to join combat, or whatever monster it is that you're using. And on initiative count 10, we're going to move our sand level up to 2 feet. So that's going to make things difficult terrain. And at this time, I would suggest going to phase 3 of our maps. So we're going to right click and we're going to move that to the back. And now our characters are looking at the middle phase of this combat map. So let's say our character comes over here and taking a look at the clues, we have bet and alpha. Well, if we were to reverse these, this is actually alphabet. And what we have done is we have actually taken a cipher where each letter of the alphabet is assigned a sequential number. So A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, and so on. So with that in mind, the letter W is going to be the number 23. So to solve the puzzle, the characters are going to need to press 4 stone blocks that equals the number 23. Now, one of the key things to remember is each block can only be used once, and 4 blocks have to be used, because after 4 stone blocks are pushed in, the puzzle resets to 0. So there are many different combinations that you could use. The combination that I used was 7, and then we pushed in the number 8, which makes 15. Then I pushed in the number 3, which makes 18, and then the number 5, that equals 23. And when 4 blocks are pushed in to equal the number 23, and again, 23 is W, then these doors are going to open. The room may continue to fill with sand, but the characters are going to be able to escape the sand crypt. So that's all I have for you today. What did you think of this puzzle trap combo? Is this something that you could use in your game? And if so, what would you do differently? And don't forget to pick up these maps today by visiting Domille's Wondrous Works over on Patreon. I'll put a link in the description below. Thank you very much for watching, and on to the next.